out to Socrates. Socrates still trying to get the opening. Oh, Socrates! Whoa!
And there it is. The crazy gang have beaten the Culture Club.
Maggie Thatcher, can you hear me? Maggie Thatcher, your boys took the hell of a beating. Your boys took the hell of a beating.
Welcome to paragraph 2, 1.15. We are on the last Saturday of 1979, the last Saturday of the 1970s, and it is 1979-80 revisited as we plough onwards towards the very eve of the 1980s. And having covered the two Manchester teams in paragraph 1, we're continuing with our first division look. We do have a nod towards the second division towards the end of this one, but we're back to the plyboard dugouts, Dave. It's Selhurst Park, it's Crystal Palace, and they have the visit of Middlesbrough.
The team of the 80s at home to Middlesbrough, and the team of the 80s not in particularly good order at this stage. They've lost to Liverpool, they've lost to Brighton. All that early season optimism is now beginning to dissipate a little bit.
It is a little bit. There is a reality check of massive order going on at Selhurst Park. There have been 2 successive 3-0 defeats for Crystal Palace in the run-up to this one. Middlesbrough in fine form, conversely. They're into the top 6. They've picked up Christmas victories over Bolton and Leeds. Kenny Sansom is missing with a thigh injury for Palace, and Craig Johnson has been deemed unfit. The Palace side, John Burridge, Paul Hinchelwood, in comes Terry Fenwick to the number 3 shirt, Peter Nicholas, Jim Cannon, Billy Gilbert, Jerry Murphy with a J, Jerry Francis with a G. We've got Dave Swindlehurst, Mike Flanagan, Finn Tiller with Ian Walsh on the bench. And for Crystal Palace, the excellent Jim Platt. Every time we've watched him so far this season, Dave, and we've seen a bit of Middlesbrough, Jim Platt's doing some heroic stuff. And in front of him, he's got John Craggs, Peter Johnson, Graham Headley, Billy Ashcroft still playing in central defence, Dave. This major anomaly, but at the same time, how can we say it's not working? Tony McAndrew, Terry Cochrane, Mark Proctor, David Hodgson, Bosco Yankovic, David Armstrong with Alan Ramage, the substitute. Again, loads of familiar names, Dave. The very reassuring, settled sides, apart from obviously the absences of Sanson and Johnston. It's as we would expect at this point in time.
Very much so. Particularly, we do actually see Kenny Sansom at the game. He's watching on from the sidelines. He appears to be sitting on one of those sort of portable chairs that you take to a picnic, rather than in the stands. It's a very weird setup next to the Memorial B&Q Dugouts. But you would not have one of your major players sitting there like that nowadays, right in the midst of the crowd that way. We've got Mr. Clive Thomas.
We have indeed. We have the sight of Clive Thomas, Porth Call legend, officiating this game.
He allows Vince Hilaire, he allows the kick-off to take place with Vince Hilaire standing in the wrong half.
He does.
Which is a disgrace.
Yeah, Clive Thomas is quite eager to get this one done and dusted and head back to South Wales by the look of it. He's not on for the niceties of the rule book. For some of this, shall we say. It's Middlesbrough a quick out the blocks in this one. There's one where he's clear through on the right. he squares the ball though, Dave, when he should shoot.
Yeah,
I think we have to say on this one.
Yeah, it's a good run from Hodgson. A really nice turn, gets himself into the box, and then he basically confuses himself and plays the ball across the face of goal rather than shooting, which is a missed opportunity. And Yankovic is through as well, and he sort of twists and turns himself into confusion and puts in a weak shot. And John Burridge, very well aware of the time of year, produces a pantomime dive to save the weakest of efforts. So all is well for the world, really.
It is one for the cameras again. It's very much one for the cameras. We know that the cameras are at Selhurst Park, and that's not a save that's being delivered with such a flourish if the cameras aren't there, are they?
No. On a Tuesday night in away at Ayresome Park, for instance, that would not be the case.
It would not quite be the way. Clearly, the first 20 minutes doesn't offer too much, because one of the first things we get to see is Middlesbrough going 1-0 up. A goal that comes in the 23rd minute down the right. low finish. It's a Hodgson cross he makes up for the chance that he refuses to take earlier on, and lays in Graham Headley to open the scoring. But it is one of the very first things we get. We don't I don't think we get much more of 45 seconds of coverage before this goal goes in.
And we only got that through John Burridge's pantomime.
We are already midway through the first half, Dave.
Yeah, it's a good goal. It's a well constructed goal.
It's a fine goal.
Terry Cochrane to David Hodgson, and the low pullback. And as ever, you get to the byline, you pull the ball back. How do you defend against that? And Palace can't, and Graham Headley smashes it in first time to make it 1-0. And to be fair, there's not a huge amount of football that we get to watch after that from what is clearly not much of a first half in general.
No, not at all. I mean, Burridge does pull off an excellent save, which it's a Jankovic effort. It's deflected, so his reactions are quick. He pushes it up onto the crossbar, So for all his pantomime goalkeeping earlier on, and there'll be a bit more pantomime goalkeeping before half time appears, he does actually kind of like say, actually, here I am pulling off a fine save, a deflected shot, tipped onto the bar.
It is a properly good save from Burridge. But it is all the stuff that we see in this first half really is Middlesbrough. I mean, Jankovic heads straight at Burridge shortly after that. I think the only chance we see from Palace is Swindler's curling one wide from distance. We get to half time and Palace, the team of the 80s, are booed off by their own supporters who clearly haven't got much patience by this stage of Christmas. They've had enough of Turkey and the in-laws, and they're going to take it out on their own team.
Absolutely, they've been shown the promised land. And now suddenly they're seeing what's behind the backdrop. It's like pantomime season. The backdrop has dropped down, and all you can see is the brick wall and the step ladders and all that type of stuff. Second half, Swindlehurst, clearly not fully fit, is replaced by Walsh, and the unusual aspect of both substitutes are on for the start of the second half. On comes Ramage for Armstrong. So we are dispossessed of Swindlehurst. We're dispossessed of Armstrong. We've not got Craig Johnston. So a lot of the entertaining elements of what this game could offer, we are kind of dispossessed of. And early enough in the second half, Jankovic, who's busy and in most things, forces Burridge into another save. While Thomas hits, Thomas is hit by. There's an interesting bit with Thomas, Dave. Run us through this peculiar incident.
He gives a free kick and he's standing there waiting for the ball, and I don't know who it is, but somebody lumps the ball back towards him. It catches him on the arm, and he has this look of absolute, I don't know. He just looks wounded, doesn't he? I don't know. It's such a painful blow, but that somebody should look at a referee and treat him with such disdain. And it's like a policeman being hit by a pea shooter in the street or something,
or having his helmet knocked off.
I'm very disappointed in you, kind of look.
Yeah. It's a kind of like an exaggerated rub of the arm and a kind of like that's really wounded my soul rather than my arm kind of moment.
This hurts me more than it hurts you. No, it doesn't.
And it is a wondrous thing. And again, a bit like the previous paragraph with Martin, David O'Leary's laboured removal from the pitch at Old Trafford. This has to go in the pending box as potentially going into the Your Boys Took Hell of a Beating Hall of Fame.
It is a glorious moment.
It is a glorious moment. Onwards, the Palace do try to get, aim to get back into the game. Platt's forced into a couple of saves. There's one from Murphy, a powerfully struck effort, and Vince Hilaire as well. So, clearly Terry Venables has given them, read them the riot act at half time and said, look, the season's going to be drifting away here. We're losing games and you're not performing again. So there is a bit of an uplift in the Palace performance going into the second half.
Yeah, they're much, much better. The game's much better because we get to see more of it. It's a great save.
We do.
Platt, that the first one from Murphy, I think it is a good reflex save. Then the second one, it's a weird affair. Vince Hilaire's through and Platt saves the first one, and then Hilaire takes too long over the rebound, and Jim Platt's wriggling along the ground looks like a draft excluder, trying to get to the second shot. And Palace are going through one of those periods where they're not playing particularly well, but also nothing's going their way either. And Borough managed to clear their lines, which is important because not long after they double the lead.
They do indeed. They do indeed double the lead. And before that, you've got Craggs picks up a yellow card for bringing down Hilaire. So Hilaire's clearly been singled out as the danger if Palace are going to get back into this game. And Ian Walsh contrives to miss from about 5 yards, Dave. There's one where and there's a Palace disallowed goal. Platt is deemed to have been fouled as well. So, yeah, like I say, nothing's going Palace's way at this point in time. And then it's 2-0. Hodgson, arguably against the run of play here. Burridge saves from Headley and Hodgson nets with the follow-up. It's one of those passages of play where Palace are getting these chances. They could be back on level terms. And then suddenly the deficit has been doubled.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with what we had to call in those days the long, mazy dribble from Terry Cochrane. It's very modern because it's full of step-overs, which was unusual at the time. He gets into the box, plays a 1-2 with Graham Headley. And Burridge makes a decent save, but the ball falls nicely to Hodgson doing what all proper centre-forwards do, following in and rams the ball into the net for 2-0. But as you say, Palace, they've been unfortunate having the header disallowed from Jerry Francis, which didn't seem a great deal in that, to be perfectly honest. All of a sudden, when they could have been 1-1, they're 2-0 down. But to be fair to them, they recovered pretty quickly and get a goal back, within 3 or 4 minutes.
They do. Jim Platt, he's putting a fine performance, but he gives the penalty away, brings down Vince Hilaire, and with 20 minutes left to play, up steps Jerry Francis, putting Platt the wrong way, and it's game on for the last 20 minutes, Dave. I
mean, it is a penalty. There's no question about it, but it's a Vince Hilaire does launch himself off the springboard when Platt's come and made contact. He makes sure that Clive Thomas is going to notice.
Yeah.
Then Jerry Francis. I mean, there's something majestic about Jerry Francis. The great mullet. He sort of strides around Selhurst Park like a shire horse somehow. He comes up and steps up to take the penalty. One of his massive hooves launches it into the top corner of the internet. I mean, had Jerry Francis stayed fit through the 70s, what kind of an England might we have had? Might Don Revie have been lauded as a genius taking England to the 1978 World Cup? We'll never know. But at 2-1, they're back in the game.
They are very much back in the game, and say Cochrane's been, centre to a lot of what's been great for Middlesbrough in this one. Burridge has been, quite central to a lot of what Palace have been involved in. He makes another save from Hodgson, and then there's this does have to go into the category. Does have to go into the All Boys Have a Meeting Hall of Fame. Clearly, there are words. There's a difference of opinion between Burridge and Cochrane. And there's a hand gesture that Cochrane makes towards Burridge that ITV, retrospectively at the very least, feel the need to fudge out.
Yeah, I mean they've blurred his arm. Presumably he's giving the international sign of a man with strong wrists to the goalkeeper, which
there's an offer of a cup. There's an offer of a certain brand of coffee being made.
So we get all that blurred out, which is a great shame, really. I may have to write to ITV to complain. But Cochrane is then involved in absolutely everything from there because he gets booked for time wasting shortly afterwards. So calling John Burridge's spare time pursuit into disrepute is fine, but time wasting, no. Clive's going to book him for that.
Not having it. Yeah, Thomas does get himself into the game in the second half a whole lot more after his wounding incident of the first half when being hit by the ball. He's exceptionally sharp with Headley over an infringement. As strong words. There's a yellow card, as you say, for Cochrane for time wasting. Walsh has a chance, to get to Palace on level terms. There's a Craggs error, and it's saved by Platt, but it is hit straight at him. Walsh should do better with the opportunity. And then comes, what could be the pivotal moment, Dave. Hilaire and Cochrane, and Cochrane is sent off. We still at this era we don't see many sendings off. Any sending off would make the back page headlines. It would be words like disgrace would be bandied around and all sorts of stuff. There's clearly a bit of frustration going on. Brian Moore possibly doing his lip reading again would be interesting to see what he can make out of this one. But whatever Hilaire says is again fudged out by the ITV cameras. The lip readers are not allowed such a thing, and we don't hear what Brian Moore has to say about this, Dave. So it's a double entry. It counts as one. It's the fudge episode. A finger of fudge is all you need to make your way into the Old Boys Took Hell of a Beating Hall of Fame.
It's very disappointing, because it would be nice to see what Vince Hilaire had to say about Terry Cochrane. Cochrane fells him, he pulls him down, and Hilaire is not best pleased. Gets up and, as you say, says something that we're not allowed to lip read. The two of them challenge one another, and Clive Thomas does the inevitable thing that all referees do. He books both of them because he's not quite sure who to blame. And unfortunately, of course, Cochrane's already been booked, and there he goes, off down the tunnel. At which point he has a bit of an altercation with somebody else on his way off. So, he's Mr. Angry. We've had Mr. Funnel in the previous episodes. Terry Cochrane's Mr. Angry today.
He absolutely is, but he put in a fine performance with the ball at his feet. He's a man in form, and then there's this incident. There's no other footballing interest in the game after this incident. The game ends with a 2-1 victory for Middlesbrough. It's a third successive defeat for Palace, but there's a great post-match interview. John Neal is asked his opinion over the sending off. He's asked his opinion about Clive Thomas, and it's very much an appreciation society, Dave. Easy for the manager who's taken the 2 points, I suppose, but he can't argue over the sending off, really, can he?
Not really, no.
And he knows that.
It's an absolute non-interview. Obviously, they've set him up because I think he's going to come up with some controversial views on the penalty incident and on the sending off. And no, Clive was perfectly fair today. No complaints at all. Good referee, Clive Thomas. Oh, thanks for 45 seconds. It was a complete waste of time, John.
John Neal doing excellent things. You're not having me over a barrel here. I've got the 2 points, and everything is awesome. Moving up the country somewhat towards Highfield Road and the magnificent pitch, Dave. Nottingham Forest are the visitors, dysfunctional on the road. They've lost 6 on the row. Surely this is going to be 7 in succession. Coventry are a dangerous team at home often, and they will go on to prove that in a couple of paragraphs further down the line against another team that plays in red. No Ian Wallace, though. No Ray Gooding. The latter had been sent off at Derby County on Boxing Day. There's a wonderful moment where Brian Clough is caught on camera with Jimmy Hill, and he plucks a cosh out of his pocket, and he's all for kind of like maiming Hill. It's pantomime season gone rogue, Dave.
Yes, the big personalities, the big beasts of English football at the time are hamming it up there for the cameras. But I mean, there's all sorts going on. I mean, Barry Davies, we've put Coventry's side out at 1 to 11 on the caption because to try to explain the formation that Coventry have to play would be too complicated.
It is a magnificent concession from Barry Davies, yeah, because like with the ITV cameras, certainly the LWT ones, I think, and region to region it's a bit different. So some put these teams up in order of formation, so the numbers are jumbled. Some just do them in a 1 to 11. At this point in time, Match of the Day is very much put them in order of formation, so you get numbers all over the place. But yeah, they've gone 1 to 11 on this because it would simply just be too complicated to try and figure it out and to explain it to you, mere mortals watching at home. The Coventry side: Les Seeley, Brian Roberts, Bobby McDonald, Mick Coop, Jim Holson, Gary Gillespie, Tommy Hutchison, Tommy English, Mick Ferguson, Andy Blur, Steve Hunt, with Steve Whitton, the substitute, another perennial substitute at this point in time, but another that West Ham will pick up further down the line and make great use of, similar to the previous paragraph with Steve Walford, wearing the Arsenal number 12 shirt. The Forest side, it's Peter Shilton, Viv Anderson, Frank Gray, John McGovern, Larry Lloyd, Kenny Burns, so prepare for potential Kenny Burns corner, Trevor Francis, Stan Bowles. We've got Bowyer and Andy Robertson, John Robertson, with John O'Hare on the bench. 2 strong sides again, Dave. This should be a classic. There was always something intriguing about Coventry Forest clashes. Whether that was kind of like the positions they were in, the football that was being played, the kits that were involved, or whether it was Forest, Clough and Taylor being wanting to swoop Ian Wallace away from Highfield Road. There always seemed to be some kind of side story to run alongside these games.
It's strange how over periods of time two teams always seem to serve up really good games, and Coventry Forest were one of those kind of pairings. Although it takes a while to get going this game, because there's not a great deal of action from the first half. But as we've alluded to several times, the surface is looking particularly good, as Barry Davies pointed out, because of polythene piping laid underneath the grass. I don't know quite what polythene piping is, to be perfectly honest. I suppose it's some kind of undersoil heating, I don't know. But that's made all the difference, apparently. And from there, our first real bit of action is another entrance to Kenny Burns' corner. And he just takes a glorious hack from behind on Steve Hunt and gets himself booked, much to his own surprise.
Absolutely, he's absolutely stunned. It's Clive White is our referee today, and he's not forgiving Kenny Burns. 2 or 3 opportunities to get himself in the yellow card before he gets that yellow card. It's flashed to him virtually straight away. And Steve Hunt is the unwitting or entirely witting victim of this particular footballing assault. Yeah, beyond that, the first half gives very, very little. There's no clear-cut chances at all, and the camera lingers for quite a long time on an Invercar towards the corner flag, Dave.
It's classic 1970s bit of glory for the Invercar. And there's also a weird setup on the far side at Highfield Road that it lingers on. In front of the stand, there seems like an additional front row where there's people sat behind some advertising boards in like a touchline long dugout kind of effect. I don't know what the hell that was all in aid of, but it's a very peculiar setup. Obviously, Jimmy Hill trying to screw a few more tickets out of the game and get a few more quid in.
Completely, absolutely. Taking further advantage of the Christmas clientele. Let's get a few more people into Highfield Road. It's the second half where things heat up. Hunt, he gets over his earlier maiming from Kenny Burns. It's a bit similar to a chance for it was David Hodgson, wasn't it, for Middlesbrough at Selhurst Park. There's an opportunity for Hunt, but he opts to pass instead of shoot.
Yeah, it's Andy Blair sets him up with a lovely backheel to Tommy English, who crosses, and then Hunt is in a perfect place to shoot and decides instead to pass it back to Blair. It goes from the sublime to the ridiculous on that backheel to an absolutely abysmal missed kick, and that ultimately proves to be a pivotal moment in the game, because Coventry should be ahead at that point. And from there, Forest really started to go from strength to strength.
It could be a different game if Coventry get the first one, given what Forest have been going through on the road for the last few months. There's a yellow card picked up by Holton, and then it's a penalty to Forest. Harsh, Dave? Holton on Birtles?
Well, yes, a little bit. I mean,
it's a yes and no penalty, isn't it? It's one of those you get why it's given, but you get why the referee had turned a blind eye.
It's a really peculiar setup. I mean, Viv Anderson's careering away down the right-hand side, and he crosses, and Birtles stoops to head it, and Jim Holton basically falls over him, really. I mean, he's not actually fouling him, but I suppose he's impeding him. So, I mean, as you say, you can see why it's given, but you can see why it would just be waved away at the same time. But once it's given, John Robertson, no message, sends Les Sealy the wrong way, 1-0 to Forest, and all of a sudden you can start to see Forest getting a bit of belief back, which is a weird thing. As you say, they've had 6 straight defeats, and there's a fantastic stat from Barry Davies. They'd lost 8 games out of 113 prior to the start of this season, and now they'd lost 8 in 32 this season, which is an amazing change in circumstances for a Forest team that, even when they weren't having the best times, you weren't beating Forest. They were drawing games. They would get the 0-0s and whatever. But this is a Forest team that, for some reason, has fallen apart. Sort of post Tony Woodcock, really, I suppose.
Yeah, very, very much so. But it is a bit of a light switch moment for Forest to go from that, the dysfunction of 6 successive defeats on the road and everything seeming going against them. That one moment with that penalty seems to be a fork in the road for them. There's an epic moment where Nick Ferguson clatters Peter Shilton, Dave. Shilton looks to punch the ball clear from a Hunt cross, and Ferguson absolutely flatters him. He's kind of linked with Forest himself, Ferguson, around about this point, but this one moment seems to kind of like scupper any chances of such a transfer taking place.
We'll have Ian Wallace instead. Yeah, I mean, he does properly class it. I mean, it's a good punch from Chilton, to be fair to him. He's
it is
enough to get out there and get the ball away, but he's left in a heap, and the trainer runs on with the bucket and sponge to deal with all these various ailments. Meanwhile, John O'Hare, who's the substitute, is wearing his massive coats to do with the warming up, and he has a chat with Trevor Francis on the touchline, and the linesman rats on and calls the referee over. who decides to book John O'Hare but not Trevor Francis, because apparently you're not allowed to pass messages on at this point. I mean, quite what these referees would make in the technical area in the modern game, I've got no idea. But no, the manager can't possibly pass a message on to his players during the game, even via an intermediary. Different times.
It is, yeah. Communication is very much stamped down on the touchline there. John O'Hare not even got onto the pitch, and there he is brandishing a yellow card. It's again another fantastic moment, along with the Invercar of the first half. That makes these matches what they are. We get to midway through the second half, Dave. It's still only 1-0. Coventry aren't really kind of like forcing the issue, but while it's still 1-0, there's always a chance that they can get back into the game. But then there's two further goals for Nottingham Forest within a 4-minute span. John Robertson, there's a Francis cross, multiple chances for Coventry to clear the ball, not taken.
No, it's a bit Manchester City, really. It's an opportunity to get it clear, but Francis is looping cross into the box. Everybody misses it. And there's John Robertson at the back post to slide it in. As you say, within 4 minutes, it's 3-0. Viv Anderson trying a shot from distance. And I don't know, I have no idea what Les Seeley is doing at all. And neither is Barry Davies, so I feel a bit better about it, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I watched it back 3 or 4 times. It's a low shot. Les Seeley looks to be absolutely no danger. It looks like he's got everything behind the ball. And he ends up missing it with his hands completely. It hits him on the legs, balloons up to Stanley Bowles, who heads in from no distance to make it through now. Stan, who is enjoying a new lease of life, enjoying his football, according to Barry Davies. That won't last for very long.
Yeah, it's a very bright start from Bowles to his Forest career. But yeah, this is an intriguing goal. Seeley just seems to fall to his left, and then it's this. I've never seen one quite like it for the position where the ball kind of is the trajectory of it as well. Kind of let's see, his legs shouldn't be where they are, where the ball hits them. It's an utter peculiarity, but yeah, Forest take advantage, and suddenly after those this incredible run of losses on the road, Forest with 20 minutes left find themselves 3-0. Steve Whitton thrown on for Hunt. There's a Gillespie header that's saved by Shilton. There's a fine jinking run from Whitton, but beyond that, McDonald with a shot blocked. Forest at 3-0. They've very much just this is over. We've got the points, and we're back to doing Forest type of things. It really is a light switch kind of being flicked.
Absolutely, just in that one moment to getting the penalty and John Robertson scoring, all of a sudden Nottingham Forest have returned from wherever it was that they've been for the previous sort of 2 or 3 months. They're back. They're kind of proper Forest again, and they'll go on and have a reasonable end to the season from there. And obviously they'll win the European Cup, which is particularly reasonable. But, they suddenly, over the course of 20 minutes in that second half, they suddenly look like Nottingham Forest again. Right the way through the team. It's an amazing thing how that happens for football teams. Just one tiny little moment, one game, can just transform everything. It's an amazing thing.
It is a peculiarity. It's their first win on the travels since early September. They've won the first 2 on the road. Looked and were top in the table in those early weeks. And this was a shot across the bows of Liverpool that Forest meant business in wanting to try and reclaim the league. But yeah, this 6-game losing streak on the road had derailed them somewhat. But yeah, this was very much Forest back to what we expect of Forest, and it'll be interesting going to the new year for them. A quick nod at the second division, Dave. We get a short blast of footage of the promotion chasing battle between Leicester and QPR at Filbert Street. QPR looking resplendent in their Feyenoord-esque away kit. It's a game that ends in a 2-0 victory for the home side. QPR, I think everything was looking great for Tommy Docherty at one point, but his altercation on the train with the Manchester City fans, suddenly results are going against them. It's unstable days for QPR.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, you'd think that having been beaten up by Manchester City fans, Roma could come to his aid and make things good for QPR, but no, quite the opposite. I mean, they're not really at it in this game at all. I mean, Leicester should take the lead early on. Henderson misses an absolute sitter, and then Bob Hazel. I mean, it's a straight red for an over the top tackle, and then thumping the fella who's and a straight red in 1979.
Takes some earning. It takes a lot to earn that.
Absolutely. I mean, you basically got to, it's armed robbery to get a straight red card in those days. But Bob Hazel, now he's away after 27 minutes, and from there, Leicester at home are in the driving seat. Although they have the moments at QPR in the first half, but no, Bob Hazel, he's let his team down.
He has indeed. Frustrating afternoon for Clive Allen. He does have a few chances for QPR. Wellington is equal to them. We've got Eddie Kelly hits the crossbar against his former club. And that's pretty much all we see in the first half. Action-packed, a few small incidents, but action-packed incidences. Again, this is one that's been stapled and sellotaped to the end of kind of like wider coverage of regional games elsewhere. The wider coverage of this lost to the skips at ATV, unfortunately. Unfortunately, ATV doing ATV things there, Dave. Second half, Leicester City, again, they hit the bar. They're knocking on the door. 10 men QPR really struggling to hold back the tide of the game. Young, fine turn and shot. Saved by Woods. Woods is being kept busy, and eventually, it's Dennis Rowe with an absolute screamer off the post that breaks this resistance of QPR, which is a spirited resistance, really. Down to 10 men, fending off, attack after attack after attack, and it's taken something utterly spectacular to break the deadlock.
It's an absolute screamer from Dennis Rowe. He sort of cuts in from left back, and he does get plenty of space given to him. I mean, nobody's closing him down or anything like that, but it's got to be fully 30 yards that he hits it from. And it just goes in like a bullet in off the bar. Chris Woods has got no chance of saving that one. And it's 1-0 to Leicester, who, from what we've seen by this stage, they deserve to have that lead. And down to 10 men, it's going to be tough for QPR anyway. But they make it worse for themselves because Chris Woods inexplicably catches the ball outside the area to give Leicester a free kick. And from there, Martin Henderson has a stooping header to make it 2-0 and finish the game off. And QPR, I was going to say coming off the rails, which is a bit unfair after Tommy Docherty beating up on a train, but it's certainly going in that direction.
It is very much going in that direction, very, very much so. But I mean, it's QPR starting to drop somewhat. That defeat has left a bit of a 5-point gap now between themselves and the top three. The other results in the second division on that day: Birmingham City 2-1 winners at home to Cardiff City, Sunderland 1-0 winners at Fulham, Newcastle 2-0 winners at home to Charlton. Burnley have picked up another win day, 3-2 at Notts County. Suddenly things are happening for Burnley. Orient 2-2 draw with Luton Town. Shrewsbury Town 3-1 winners against troubled Bristol Rovers. Swansea City 1-0 winners at home to Preston. Watford, Cambridge United goalless, and Wrexham 2-0 winners at home to Chelsea. Postponed Oldham versus West Ham. In the second division, that means that Newcastle United top of the table on 31, a point ahead of Luton and Chelsea, and outside the top three on 28, it's Leicester. So within two points of the promotion places. Sunderland, Birmingham City both on 27, and then you've got QPR on 25 as mentioned, along with Wrexham at the foot of the table. Fulham are now bottom on 15. It's Charlton on 17, Bristol Rovers on 17, Shrewsbury on 17, Burnley now up to the dizzying heights of 18th place, 18 points, 18th place. They've now picked up 5 wins. Took them a long time to pick up a win, Dave. They've now picked up 5, 4 of them at Turf Moor. It's interesting times again in Division 2.
The form team now, all of a sudden, Burnley, which you couldn't have seen coming quite a few weeks ago. But although Wrexham are having a great season, it's still a poor result for Chelsea to go to Wrexham and lose 2-0 in a game like that. So it's all bubbling up for the second division, just like it always did. It's going to go right to the wire for the top three places.
It really is. Other results in the first division. We've seen the Brighton 4-1 victory against Manchester City. Aston Villa 3-1 winners at Bristol City. We know that Nottingham Forest have won at Coventry and Middlesbrough have won at Crystal Palace. We've got Everton 1, Derby County 1, useful point for Derby at Goodison Park. Ipswich 1-0 winners, the resurgent Ipswich 1-0 winners at home to Wolves. Leeds and Norwich share an entertaining 2-2 draw at Ellen Road. Southampton 2-0 winners at home to Bolton. Tottenham 1-0 winners at Stoke. And sorry to say, Dave, but Liverpool won 2-0 at the Hawthorns against West Brom. 2 goals from Davy Johnson in the first half there, in front of a crowd of 34,915.
Standard.
Standard. Liverpool still top of the table, 34 points, 2 ahead of Manchester United, still with that game in hand. Southampton are now third on 26. Arsenal also on 26. The closest of the chasers. Aston Villa up to fifth on 25. Middlesbrough maintain a place in the top 6. And down for Forest, they're up to 8th on the back of their win. The bottom 3, Bolton now 8 points adrift of safety. They're on 11. They've only picked up 1 win now in 23. Derby County on 16, Bristol City on 17, and then it's Stoke and Brighton on 19. But as we've seen, a resurgence, Brighton, who are now only a point behind Everton, and yourselves at West Brom, Dave, just 3 points behind a nervous Manchester City, Dave.
You'd certainly be nervous if you were Manchester City defending the way that they've defended. I don't know where they've got all those points. I mean, perhaps we're just seeing them every time that they're atrocious. But you can't imagine how they've got any points at all, can you? Really, from what we've seen this season. Sorry, Manchester City fans, I'm really not picking on you, but my God, this is a work of art. It's performance art, isn't it? It's the Arts Council probably gave them a grant for this season. It's amazing.
It is. It's like something a Tracy Emin kind of installation, art installation in football. In terms, it truly is kind of like you can't take your eyes off it, but you don't know why. No cameras out and about on New Year's Day, as mentioned in the last paragraph. A quick nod towards the results that day. There was a lot of postponements on New Year's Day. Aston Villa, Manchester City, Manchester United, Bolton, Stoke, Liverpool and Tottenham Wolves fell to the weather. The games that did take place in the first division, Bristol City and Brighton play out a 2-2 draw. Coventry City bounced back with a 2-0 win at home to Middlesbrough. Crystal Palace and Norwich play out a goalless draw. Everton beat Nottingham Forest, so Forest have got that win on the road, but they return to a defeat at Goodison Park. Brian Kidd with the only goal. West Brom beaten 4-0 at Ipswich, Dave. A chastening Christmas for West Brom. Mariner walked from the penalty spot. Osman and Tyson. Leeds a 1-0 win at home to Derby, and Arsenal have won the battle of third versus fourth, 1-0 at the Dell, which means that they swap places largely as you were in the league. Although Arsenal, with playing with the teams above them not doing so, have closed the gap in terms of points, but they've now played 2 more than Liverpool. Newcastle remain top in the second. In the third, it's Sheffield United, and in the fourth, it's Walsall. The year comes to an end, Dave. And the new decade and the new year begins. We'll take a run through the back page headlines that run up to the weekend of the Saturday 29th of December as a final nod to the 70s, Dave. Kevin Keegan talking to Vince Wilson in the Sunday Mirror. He declares that he wants to join Juventus. I've told them the terms and conditions I want, and I'm waiting for their reply. But I never put my eggs in one basket. If those negotiations break down, I will turn to Spain, and you can guess between Barcelona, Real Madrid and Valencia. If it means returning to England, however, my choice would be Chelsea. That's quite the chasm between Juventus, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Valencia and second division Chelsea, Dave. The world of Kevin Keegan remains esoteric.
Not too many paragraphs ago, we saw him in his documentary with Brian Moore talking about going to the Middle East on ludicrous quantities of money for the time. So I mean, it's he never wants to miss an opportunity, does he, Kevin Keegan, on the pitch or off the pitch? But Chelsea seems an amazing kind of concept, really, given the state that Chelsea were in at the time, with the redevelopment of the ground and second division football, and not even looking like they're necessarily like they're going to come up because it's such a tight race at the top of the second division. That's an amazing juxtaposition from Juventus to Chelsea.
It is entirely Kevin Keegan. Along the way there is mention of Saudi Arabia. There's mention of offers from the Washington diplomats for the NASL, but he declares it's not about the money, it's about the challenge. Manchester United have been given first refusal apparently on Peter Barnes should he choose to leave West Brom, Dave. Barnes has struggled to settle in the Midlands. West Brom have an eye on the Oldham Athletic winger Paul Heaton, who would later go on and form the House Martins and the beautiful South.
This was a better choice than going to the Albion, frankly, at that point in time.
Happy hour, indeed, it is at the Hawthorns. Leeds United and Derby County are interested in signing New York Cosmos one-to-way former Sunderland and Manchester City man Dennis Chewett. In the FA Cup replay, Chesham are now going to be at home to Cambridge United. They've defeated Merthyr Tydfil 3-1 in the FA Cup second round replay. Trailing 1-0 to a 15th minute goal by Merthyr left winger Derek Elliott, and with Chesham players struggling with the surface, Chief Mike Hall makes the quick-witted decision to send 13th man Gary Manning and the director Terry Bushell out shopping for trainers. Five of the players have not tipped up with trainers, Dave. They're struggling in the studded boots on the frozen pitch, and he's sent them out and they've gone shopping at Merthyr Market, Dave. The ployers worked. They turn it around to win 3-1. And for the first time in the club's 62-year history, they've made it to the third round. Dave, sending players to market to remedy a half-time deficit.
It's a magnificent tale, is that? And probably got the benefit of the New Year sales as well, so probably got to make it cheaper.
Absolutely, they should have done. I'd like to hope that they went and they haggled a cheaper price as well. Swindon Town striker Alan Mays wins a fiver from Watford manager Graham Taylor. Upon selling the player for £80,000, Taylor had made the bet with Mays that the player wouldn't hit the 20-goal mark in 1979-80. Yet it's something he has achieved with 5 months to spare. Brace of goals in Swindon's 3-2 FA Cup replay victory over Torquay United, Dave. Fair play there for getting a fiver out of Graham Taylor, Dave.
The FA will be launching a gambling commission on whether he should have been allowed to make a bet or not. They'll have the money off him. Illegal payment or something, that'll be. So,
Inducements, but for the wrong team there. As mentioned a nod towards it in the first paragraph, English clubs are set for a New Year UEFA Cup freeze-out, Dave. Alan Hardacre's blunt message. Early 1979-80 UEFA Cup exits have occurred for Ipswich, West Brom, Leeds and Everton. It means that the First Division will definitely be reduced to 3 qualifiers for 1980-81 from the current number of 4. Worse still, should Arsenal and Nottingham Forest fail to progress beyond the last 8 of the European Cup and Cup Winners' Cup respectively, it could even be down to 2 UEFA Cup spots for next season.
Good heavens, it'd be a disaster.
Ramifications galore, Dave. Portsmouth chairman John Deacon issues a hands-off warning over manager Frank Burrows. The 36-year-old Scot has led Portsmouth to the top of the 4th Division. He's raised gates above 20,000, recruited 11 new players since the summer, and they're absolutely flying. Deacon has been his availability has been asked by several clubs. Apparently, the Portsmouth chairman John Deacon, band member of Queen, is quoted as saying he is ambitious. This is in terms of Burrows, and we are lucky to have him, but we will fight our hardest to keep him. There is an interesting mixed bag of back page headlines there, Dave.
Yes, quite. Frank Burrows, the hottest property in management. Frank, he became Gary Mixon's assistant at the Albion years later. Nice fella was Frank Burrows. But yes, clearly Portsmouth want to be the champions. We are the champions. That's John Deacon's aim at Fratton Park. So they've got to keep all the Frank.
Absolutely, they do. Best of luck there, Portsmouth. Dave, thank you so much as we bow away from the 1970s and into the 1980s, but a really warm glow of the third round of the FA Cup sits ahead of us. Looking forward to it.
Can't wait for the FA Cup to come. We've got some absolutely incredible moments to enjoy, I think, in the third round.
We have, and there will be at least one entry into the Your Boys Took Hell of Beating Hall of Fame without a shadow of a doubt, which will be plucked from Yorkshire. And it's a structural issue, shall we say. Spread the word, subscribe where you can, and join us again next time. This has been 1979, 80 Revisited, subsection module 1.15, paragraph 2, from Your Boys Took Hell of Beating. Thank you and goodbye.
And Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year.